I would like to call the MSBA Wildwood School Building Committee meeting to order on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. It is a virtual meeting, so this is a public Zoom only. And at this time, I would kindly ask for a roll call with Vivian, please.
Absolutely. Diane Allen.
Here.
Greg Bendel.
Here.
Kate Bissell.
Here.
Dr. Glenn Brand.
Here.
Kevin Kyra is absent today. Michael Camosio. Absent. Justin Couchet. Absent. Marianne Galezzo.
Here.
Nicholas Golden.
Here.
Christine Holleran.
Here.
John Holloway. Dennis Kelly.
Here.
Paul Millerani.
Here.
Craig Miner. Christine Murray. Judy O'Connell.
Here.
Christine Pendergast.
Here.
David Ragsdale.
Here.
Paul Ruggiero.
Here.
Stacy Scott.
Here.
Eric Schlegel.
Here.
Stephen Turner.
Here.
And myself, Vivian, is here. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to review the results of the owner's project manager interviews. Just a quick update for the committee, just to share that we had 9 firms respond, and as a result of that, the 5-person subcommittee that you all elected to do this task, we all received all of the submissions that came in. We did have a criteria, evaluation criteria that we used. It was a 100-point system. Every single firm was evaluated with the same criteria and the same point system. I want to thank the other members of the subcommittee for taking all of the time and effort to go through all of those submissions. It was very intensive work with 9 firms to be reviewed. They did this, with pleasure, with style, and getting everything in on time, and really worked really hard to make this happen. I'd like to compliment and thank Tommy Donahue for putting this information together so that we could evaluate it and review it. We did have those evaluation forms were due in by May 30th. We shortly thereafter scheduled a meeting to discuss the firms and with the ranking. All of this will certainly be public record and able to be provided to all of you. And I know you've received some updates. So essentially the firms were ranked 1 through 9. We did have a tie for the 8th and 9th firm actually were tied with the same score. So we essentially took the top 3, which were Colliers, Vertex, and Left Field, and we made a decision as a subcommittee that they would be the 3 firms that would be interviewed. And then immediately Tommy Donahue was able to contact them and schedule them for interviews, which we had on June 6th here at Town Hall. That was posted. The interviews were recorded. They've been distributed out to the public. They've been distributed out to this whole committee for your viewing in advance. We were able to have approximately 45-minute interviews for each firm. And we also had another evaluation criteria that we utilized, which was a 40-point system that we evaluated each of the firms that came in. I want to thank the subcommittee once again for taking the time out of their schedule to come in. It lasted probably about 3 hours and 45 minutes in total. And we were able to conduct those interviews. And then once those interviews concluded, we immediately went into deliberation. And it was quick around the table that we were able to come to pretty immediate consensus as to who the best firm in our estimation would be for Wilmington and what we wanted to bring forward for a recommendation. And so in the end, I will say all 3 firms were talented, brought a lot to the table. We asked them all the same question. Same questions rather. I will say that they all have had some experience with Dorian Whittier as well as with Fontaine. I can say that it was pretty unanimous across the board with the 3 firms that we have picked 2 stellar partners in Dorian Whittier as well as Fontaine to partner with. So that was reaffirming and reassuring that we have certainly assembled an A-list team in their minds, in their professional opinions. I felt, speaking as one member, and I'm certainly going to turn it over to the other committee members, that each firm brought talent, But I will say that based on the score criteria that we had, their presentation, the parties that were involved, the senior people, that they were bringing their A team to Wilmington. Their core competencies in the construction business, document management, finance, their day-to-day on the job site, their ability to partner with a town the size of Wilmington to work on an elementary school that's MSBA related with a construction management at risk, to work with an elementary school environment that where schools are being consolidated and it involves a move of students, the fiscal responsibility, some of the site issues, the community engagement. I certainly can go on and on and on. But we felt that they were the right fit. They had the right enthusiasm. They had the right team that would be well placed with Wilmington. It would also be noted that they currently are working on a project in Tingsboro with the exact Fontaine team right now. So they essentially, it would be the same personnel that would basically transition from that existing project over to the Wilmington-based project and would be the same team. We felt that they were very passionate about it. Their principal has roots to Wilmington and has roots within the school system and knows many of the legacy teachers within the Wilmington Public Schools, which was a side note benefit for us. And we walked away from that experience feeling that left field was the recommendation that we wanted to bring forward. So before I bring it to the committee at large, I'd like to offer the other 4 members on the evaluation committee to offer their comments. Diane Allen, Paul Ruggiero, Dennis Kelly, and Paul Millerani are the other 4 that were with me during those interviews. So I'll turn it over to the 4 of you to see if you'd like to add any additional comments to the team.
I don't have any. I think it was well said, Judy, what you said regarding how we came to our conclusion. And I feel very, very comfortable with Left Field and their project team that they brought to the table that night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll say Left Field was the 3rd of the interviews, and they brought an energy to the room, a passion. They were very engaging. A lot of the keywords and things you want to hear from them around operations and contract management, budget management. It was very impressive, and for me it was an easy decision after the 3. And going in, I don't think I had them my top, but after the interview, they just blew everyone else away.
I'll just say that I don't think we could have gone wrong with any of these firms. They were all top notch. They all interviewed very well. And when Left Field came into the room, there was, dare I say, just an aura. They felt great. Their team was great, and just a great rapport with us. So I think we're taking a great step forward with Left Field.
Yeah, and I'll just add quickly, I think they did a tremendous amount of homework. They did, during their presentation, mention that they have 75% repeat customers. Some of the other firms, had a large percentage as well, but they brought that up in the interview. And the other thing they mentioned that I didn't hear anyone else talk about is they talked about managing not only the budget, but managing the town share of the budget, which I thought was an interesting comment, and to be mindful of that. So I thought all 3 firms were great, but Left Field really stood out.
Thank you. So at this time, I just want to turn it over to the committee at large. Does anyone have any questions or would like to ask anything to be further explained? Does anyone have any comments overall that they want to share? Hearing none. Oh, forgive me, someone may be raising their hand. I apologize. Vivian?
I believe Stephen had his hand raised first, so
I was actually second to David. I did see that part. So David.
Sorry, I can't tell who raised
Yeah, that's
first,
fine.
so I appreciate that. So
Okay.
I called on you, Vivian, because that was the first hand that I saw in the stack here. So David, I'll defer to you as the first.
Okay. I also thought that all all three firms were very excellent. And I had another one of those, like after watching them, just thinking, well, we can't make a bad decision here. I also liked Left Field very, very much. There was one thing I wanted to ask and clarify, though, which is that I thought that they had stated during their interview that they had not worked with Doran Whittier, and I think you said that all the firms had. That was my only, I don't even want to say a knock against them, but it was just one thing I noted, that I thought that they were the only one of the three firms who had mentioned that they hadn't worked directly with Doran Whittier. Am I just not correct about that? Am I misremembering?
You weren't misremembering, but I would say that Craig DiCarlo, who is the day-to-day that we're going to have, when he worked with a prior firm, he worked with Doran Whittier many times. So albeit that Left Field hasn't, that Craig DiCarlo, who's their project executive, has in fact worked with Doran Whittier, but he was part of another firm during doing that.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, and
Yes.
but I don't have any reservations about going with Left Field. I thought they were great.
Correct. Thank you.
And if I could just add, they did mention they worked with Doran Whittier's sub-consultants, almost all of them, through various projects.
And forgive me if I'm Vivian or Stephen, whichever one of you would
Go
like.
ahead, Vivian.
Thank you, Stephen. We probably beat each other at the hand raise. My quick question is, can either of the team members, I mean, you're all correct. All three firms are fantastic and you can't go wrong with any one of them. But I'd like to understand a little bit from the selection committee, what was it that was the differentiator for you to go with Left Field versus Vertex or Collier's?
So for me, I will just say that I did some pre-research. From all accounts, I've been told that David Sangden is probably in the elite in terms of project directors in the industry. I like the idea that Kevin Sullivan, their community outreach expert, has worked for MSBA 14 years previously to coming on to Left Field. I felt that this particular firm with Dan McSweeney, who's their cost manager, spoke very much, just as Paul Ruggiero had articulated, not only just managing the budget, but the town share, and also was exceptionally skilled on the back end for the final reimbursements. I also feel that Jay Faxon, who is their MEP expert for the mechanicals, the plumbing and electric, had 30 years of private experience before coming on to Left Field. I thought he was an absolute game changer in terms of design and installation of systems in a state-of-the-art facility like this, in terms of managing cost and what makes sense for an effective solution across all of those three areas, and that he would partner on the front end during the actual construction and even post with Dennis as the superintendent of public buildings, which I think is paramount, because once this structure is built, it's going to be the town living with this environment for years to come. And Dennis is going to have such a key role in making sure that this building is sustainable for the long term. Josh Brewster, who was their relocation manager, I felt that he really did a nice job conveying, his expertise in relocating multiple schools into one building with multiple transitions, with that's age appropriate, project appropriate, while there's still an existing school that's educating students at the same time. And I thought Brian Johnson, on first impression, that he would be a good fit on the day-to-day working with Fontaine on site. I felt that there appeared to be some good chemistry and some commonality with personalities, and then obviously the skill set is important too. And I felt that Craig DiCarlo, as the day-to-day project person, some of the other firms, I'm not speaking for the other members of the committee, I'm not sure that we had their A-list of personnel. That's just an instinctual feel in the room. Some of the percentages that were written in the proposal did not total out to, a 5-day-a-week presence. What I also liked is I sensed the passion from all of these members to want this job. Jim Rogers, I feel really went after this, as the core principal in the room. And, they also were quick to say that their project team is not working on more than 2 projects at a time. And so that tells me that they have the bandwidth to go all in on this project, which is what we really need. And I sense that from this particular team more so than any other firm in the room that night. Again, that's just my professional opinion.
Thank you so much. If any other team members from the selection committee have anything to add, it would be beneficial for everyone to hear.
I'll just say that all three firms, the first two firms showed up with very good teams. Left Field showed up with a great team. There was nothing. There was no daylight between any of their team members. They were just great, all on par for the interview.
I'll just say that I want to echo everything that Judy said. There isn't much left to say after all the research that she did, and also Judy also called the references to make sure that we weren't missing anything in the selection process, and I think Dennis also helped out with calling the references. But in my opinion, too, a 75% repeat of work with the same customer says a lot about a firm. No one is perfect in this world. However, that's a very, very, very good rating. So, and I'll end it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, you called the references. Dennis, sorry.
Yeah, I called references on Left Field, and I always look at references as a tough thing because who puts down a bad reference? But the rave review that everyone gave me on Left Field, the comments they made about Dave Sandin, Jay Faxon, Brian Johnson, all of them actually, and even Jim Rogers was they could go on and on. Every one of them said, and each conversation was a lot longer than I thought it'd be. But in the meeting, Jim Rogers showed a real desire to want this business. And he said one key thing to me that I know most people will do, but he's like, my cell phone will be given to you and you can call me anytime. You can go, you don't have to call just the direct team. I am there for you. So when a principal in charge is telling you that you have his direct line and you call him anytime, that's a great thing. Jay Faxon's going to be on the ground on a regular basis. And one of the stories he told is he was looking at a floor, and I believe it was a bathroom, thought it was it might be something wrong, so he made them get him a hose, connected to a hose bib, turned the hose on, started putting in the drain, and it started running out into the hallway. And so he's like, yeah, I want to look at those things before you have it. And they had to fix it then. So he's looking at the small details and the large details when it comes to all the mechanical. And that's how having a commissioning going on throughout the whole process, which instead of waiting to the end and trying to resolve things. So that was pretty impressive. But each one of the team members really fed off each other with energy and with follow-up to questions. And you could see how each one's going to play a role in our success.
I'll add one more thing too. Left Field was hired in Bill Ricker to manage the design and construction of their new high school in 2016. Since that time, they were hired 11 more times for school projects in Bill Ricker.
Yeah, I have really nothing to add. I agree with everything that's been said.
The old superintendent of Barica called me today because he wasn't available the other day. And he's, I believe, in Westwood now. I forget which town he was in, but they're doing a project there. And he said that he wishes that Left Field was the OPM there, just on the budget management side of it all, because to help them come in the budget and manage that budget throughout the process, which I think is enormous as far as an important thing for us to have someone watching our back financially.
Does that answer your question, Vivian?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you all of you for your hard work and due diligence.
Well,
Thank you. Stephen?
Cool. First of all, I also want to thank all 5 of you. I really appreciate all the time and effort going through all 9 of those. Must have been a tremendous amount of work. And I certainly want to state how much I trust this process. We've done a great job. We did a great job with Fontaine, with Doran Whittier. And so I don't doubt this at all. I do think we learned a lot of good things during the construction management discussions from other firms. So I hope we took good notes with the OPM candidates for some of the other ideas that came across from the other teams. The one piece that came up, and that from left field that seemed odd, was one of the folks, when they were talking about the Billerica project, talked about cutting through repeatedly in front of the north. And considering how much traffic and traffic studies and congestion at that site is going to be an issue, that came across a little tone deaf. And if he says that in a meeting in front of the abutters, oh yeah, I cut through there all the time, that to me rang really odd. And it was one comment. So again, I completely trust this process, and you guys, I appreciate everything you did, but could we ask them to phrase that a little differently? Maybe I'm aware of the traffic, or however they want to, but when he said it, I could just see some of the rooms we've been in and see people that are there shaking their heads saying, yep, and we don't want to do this because of that. And you are already cutting through, and you're part of the traffic problem, and now we're going to add to it with more kids. So that one comment, and again, it's one comment out of many. I think you guys did a fantastic job, and I don't object at all. But if we could provide some feedback to them, figuring out a different way to say that, I think would be fantastic. And so, I really appreciate everything you guys did, and thank you again very much for all your time and effort on this.
Thank you.
Stephen, I didn't actually take it that way, with all due respect. I think he was just trying to punctuate his familiarity with the area and with the site.
For sure. Yeah, Paul, absolutely. I know that's what he was trying to do. 100% agree. And they are familiar, and they roots in the town and all these things, which was very, very clear and evident. It's just the way he phrased it. And so I know the idea of the comment was a good one, but I could hear that comment in the room with the abutters and have it cause problems. And the OPM is here to help us solve problems. And the only concern was that sort of a comment could cause them. And so that's all. And I appreciate what you're saying, Paul, for sure.
I think anybody who lives in Andover and has to go to a job site in Billerica is going to cut by the north. I just think that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? I think I see, is there one more hand? Oh, Diane, sorry.
Yeah. I'm also going to say, I understand what you're saying, but I didn't take it that way, Stephen. I think he said it because he was trying to let us know that he was familiar with the area and the concerns that this project is going to have. In fact, they said they even watched the last meeting that was held. And he understands, some of the concerns that were raised by the people that are abutters and people that live around there. So, I could be wrong, but I just didn't take it as anything against them. But if, everybody can have a different feeling. If you really feel that that's going to be a turnoff, I'm sure that something can be just said to him, and I'm sure he won't mention it again.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you, Diane and Paul. I appreciate all your time on this. And Paul and Judy and Dennis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, one last thing on that too, not to belabor this, is I actually think it's a good thing if that's the commuting path he took, because he can speak firsthand to going around those corners and being in that area and what he experienced. And then he, based on his other experience in other towns, he may be able to bring a different idea or a fresh point of view or explanation. It's a real issue that we'll be talking with through the whole time of construction. So maybe with his familiarity and going through there, he might be able to help us with some suggestions or help us with how we're going to manage this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing too is, and I think it's important that everybody, is able to say what's on their mind, and just, obviously all the comments that we make about this project between now and as we move forward, have to be, thoughtful and really understanding the cause and effect of what we say. I think the positive message is that the gentleman that said it did not say that he avoids the area and has sought another route. He's still going through there. So even though it may be tight and constrained, it's still considered a pathway for him such that he hasn't changed his driving route. So I think if we were to kind of leave it on a positive, he hasn't made a new route to Billerica or anywhere else he's going, he's still traveling through the area. So that tells me it's still a viable route to travel. So maybe we can, see it as that and then just take all of this under advisement. Does that sound right? Okay. So if anyone else has anything else to say, certainly feel free. If everyone has concluded on that, I would entertain a motion to recommend to this committee left field as the finalist to choose as the new OPM, subject to
moved.
contract negotiations.
Second.
Yeah, so moved.
Who made the motion?
Stephen Turner.
Stephen Turner.
Yep.
And then who made the second? Just we're trying to get the minutes.
Nicholas Golden.
Nicholas Golden. Thank you. And that's second for discussion. Any discussion? I see no hands raised, so I'm saying that is none. Roll call vote, Vivian, please.
Absolutely. Diane Allen,
Yes.
Greg Bendel,
Yes.
Kate Bissell. Kate?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Brand,
Yes.
Mary Ann Galezzo,
Yes.
Nicholas Golden seconded, Christine Holleran,
Abstain.
Dennis Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
Judy O'Connell,
Yes.
Christine Pendergast,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero,
Yes.
Stacy Scott,
Yes.
Eric Schlegel,
Yes.
Stephen Turner motioned, and myself, yes. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is discussion and new items. The only thing that I have is just to remind people that June 18th is when we are going before the MSBA. I will be working with Eric and the leadership team as to, further communications with the committee as we do not have an anticipated meeting until the June 23rd tri-board meeting. Obviously, we have fun on the 4th. I did send out the Sign Up Genius to everybody as a link. If you're interested in volunteering, I certainly am respectful of people's vacation time, and it's the 4th of July, and people may not have the ability to volunteer. But I just want to give a reminder that that email is in your inbox and available if you should like to join that booth down at the festivities. Does anyone else have any discussion on new items that they would like to bring up? I see Mr. Bendel, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you very much. Very quickly, just want to congratulate Eric. It was 1 year ago today, he started as town manager. I think along with our assistant town manager, they're doing a pretty good job for us. So here's to many more years.
I second that.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
It doesn't seem like it's been a year.
Went by
All right.
fast.
Roll call vote now to agree that they're doing a great job.
Christine?
Yes. Just following up on the fun on the 4th, as of this afternoon, nobody signed up for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So I think we should consider talking about what a backup plan looks like if we get no one manning the booth, if you will, on any of those days.
Maybe, Christine, we could take that offline and discuss it during the PR working group session tomorrow, and then bring it to the committee once we have some potential solutions.
Okay, I just know we're getting close to the end, and I was hoping that people understood what we're looking at right now, and that we're not gaining any traction, and weeks go by and we're just not getting the people signing up. So what do we have, 2 weeks left?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 15 days, the 25th. So I'm doing the 25th with, I believe, Mike and Justin. So
Judy,
that's-
I have my hand raised.
Vivian.
It's not for the fun on the 4th, but I know we already selected, and I'm excited to work with Left Field. Do we have a ranking of the other firms, like which one came in second and third?
We will have that and we can get that to you. Each of us turned in our score sheets individually to Tommy and he's just tabulating the placement for the other two firms.
Thank you so much.
So I know how they scored on mine, but I don't know the average of all five.
Understood. Thank you.
So just so you know that, Vivian,
I apologize. Maybe I should clarify. I meant after, so not all five. I just meant after the interview. Clearly, there was the front runner of Left Field. Curious if Colliers came in second or Vertex came in second, just in case if there is an issue with contractual agreement on who the second and third runner-ups would be. I don't foresee any, but
as far as a vote, we interviewed all three, which they were all three finalists. They had different scores, obviously, when we went into the meeting. But after the interviews, it was unanimous for number one. We didn't go back and say, geez, if this doesn't work, who would you want second? Who would you want third as a subcommittee? So, if I went by my scoring, if I remember correctly, Left Field wasn't first. So we didn't think about, geez, if we can't negotiate here, who's number two? I guess we'd have to probably meet as a subcommittee and go, out of the remaining two, who do we think deserves another look? But I would assume based on their desire to work with the town, we'd be able to negotiate something.
okay.
So in the submission that we have to submit to the MSBA tomorrow, they will be ranked based on how the criteria points. But to Dennis's point, I would think that we would need to meet again to be able to come to that conclusion.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other discussion or new items? I don't see any panelists with their hand raised. Okay, so at this point, I have nothing else and there's nothing around the virtual table here, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Diane Allen,
Yes.
Greg Bendel,
Yes.
Kate Bissell,
Yes.
Dr. Glenn Brand,
Yes.
Marianne Galezzo,
Yes.
Nicholas Golden,
Yes.
Christine Holleran,
Yes.
Dennis Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
Judy O'Connell,
Yes.
Christine Pendergast,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero,
Yes.
Stacy Scott,
Yes.
Eric Schlegel,
Yes.
okay, Stephen Turner,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Dr. Brand.
Thanks, everyone.
Great point, Greg.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.